So without it further ado, let me take you to the interview.
Well, hello, Noria. Thank you very much for being on First Contact Radio. How are you tonight?
Very good. I'm really doing fine, and I'm excited to be on your show tonight. And thank you so much, Josh, for inviting me.
You're very welcome. Well, we're glad to have you here, and you have so much information that's to share. I've been watching your videos today, and just kind of reacquainting with some of your more recent information, and so I'm anxious to find out directly from you what's the latest, hottest stuff out there.
Well, sure, no problem. I'm really glad to give you the latest in what's happening, especially here in New Mexico, especially a northern New Mexico section of the small community called Dulce, New Mexico.
Okay. So what is going on in Dulce?
Well, actually, the rumors of the alleged Dulce underground base has been going on for many, many years, as you know.
Right.
Ever since around 1979, the rumors started happening that there is an underground biolab allegedly located deep underground the Archuleta Mesa right next to Dulce, New Mexico. But this rumor has gone on for many years, and of course, I've been following the story since about 1987, when I received John Lear's hypothesis. He wrote me back in 1987, giving me a 12-page hypothesis on both the Dulce installation and also Area 51 installation. Of course, the Area 51 installation, is in Nevada, and it's well known by now. But it was interesting that John Lear wrote to me, and he did some research himself, visiting Dulce also in the 80s. And so that was in 1987 when I really became interested in the alleged rumors about underground bases. And, of course, in 1990, I took a Japanese television crew to the outskirts of Area 51 after interviewing Bob Lazar for 3 hours at his home in Las Vegas. That was in 1990. But anyway, after doing a segment about Area 51, we all flew to New Mexico. That was in late February of 1990. We flew over to New Mexico and traveled to Dulce, New Mexico, and began to interview local residents there. And, we interviewed lots of people there on the street, but we were suddenly detained by the police chief over there, and we were asked what we were doing there. But, we were asking people whether the rumors about sightings of strange military aircraft, aircraft and, military personnel in that area, is this all true or not? But also, at the same time, we did ask questions about cattle mutilations there that were happening there, even though the cattle mutilations actually started around 1975 in that area and continued until the mid-'80s. But by the time we got there in 1990, it seemed to have ended basically. Even though occasionally there seem to be some reports even today. But this is the gist of my experience in Dulce, and of course, ever since that time, I continued my research about the Dulce alleged base, and then 3 years ago, in 2008, my wife and I retired and moved from California, Southern California, to this state of New Mexico, where I now reside. I actually reside in the city called Rio Rancho, which is located right next to Albuquerque.
Okay.
And so I have gone to Dulce many times after I moved here, spoken to a lot of local people, and still today continue to receive interesting information from former law enforcement officials in the Dulce area, confirming that even today, yes, there are sightings of strange objects over the Archuleta Mesa as well as over other parts of Dulce. And it's frequent. It's even, I spoke to the former police chief there, or director of public safety, by the name of Gabe Valdez, who confirmed to me last week on the phone that, yes, sightings still do continue, the reports at least. And so I am definitely convinced that even though there is no physical, tangible, solid, irrefutable documentary evidence whatsoever that there is a physical underground base in Dulce, I'm convinced that there is something there. There are so much circumstantial evidence to point out that indeed there's something there that that the government doesn't want people to know about, and it comes in various aspects. And so my theory is that there's a cover-up about Dulce, New Mexico, and this involves probable biological warfare experiments, possible illegal activity involving dumping of chemical toxic substances and chemicals and nuclear waste materials in the surrounding areas of Dulce. And this has been going on for many, many years in my research.
Okay.
And so that is my point. Now, my point is that I'm very interested in the legality, and I am interested in exposing the illegality of some of the government's black projects programs that have been going on all these years, including Nevada, Nevada test site, Area 51, of course, right next to it, and then, of course, New Mexico and Utah and Colorado and other locations in the Southwest. There are some facilities that I believe are involved in covering up of dumping of dangerous substances and going against environmental regulations, because I'm interested in environmental safety, because, we're talking about our hard-earned tax dollars going into projects that are very obscure and could be dangerous to the public in the future. And so I was an activist as far as Area 51 was concerned. By 1998, I was actually part of the movement to have the government accept the responsibility for the deaths and injuries of former workers at Area 51. Eventually, activists, and activism like this paid off, because the U.S. government finally admitted a few years ago that, these workers need to be compensated. And so just a few years ago, the Department of Energy began to compensate workers at Area 51 who were affected by contamination and, through toxic chemicals while they were working on stealth coating on aircraft at Area 51, and also the alleged dumping of toxic substances in the desert right next to Area 51. And so these activism, such as by the Civilian Intelligence Network and other groups such as the Federation of American Scientists, FAS, which is a large organization in Washington made up of U.S. citizens whose job is to actually monitor the activities of black programs in the U.S., making sure that they do things the right way and not destroy the environment. But this has been my main concern about Area 51, and the similar concern I have about the Dulce area.
Okay. So that's a lot. That's a lot of concerns, and rightly so, because all those things could be quite dangerous to the public.
Exactly, and especially when it comes to the Dulce situation, this is very, very relative to the dangerous, radiation leaks that have been going on in that area since 1967. Because in 1967, the Atomic Energy Commission, the forerunner of the Department of Energy. Now, the Atomic Energy Commission has always been a secretive group that tried to cover up a lot of things. And so before any group started, the Atomic Energy Commission was there already. But anyway, in 1967, the U.S. government, through the Atomic Energy Commission, decided to test a nuclear device right next to Dulce, New Mexico, about 1.5 miles deep underground in an area, remote area, next to the Jicarilla Apache Reservation. And this was part of the Carson National Forest, right next to the Jicarilla Apache Reservation. And in 1967, in December, the United States exploded an atomic device underground. And this was only about 22 miles southwest of Dulce. And the intention, or the ostensible explanation by the government, was that it needed to help the local area ease the flow of natural gas in this region, like Dulce, Aztec, Farmington, and all these areas. But, this 1967 atomic explosion underground practically is unknown among the population at large. But yet, it was a fact. In December of 1967, tremendous explosion took place underground, right near Dulce, and it caused some earthquakes in the Farmington area, Aztec area, Dulce area. It's recorded. But in my opinion, the fact that the Atomic Energy Commission announced that this was solely for the purpose of easing the flow of natural gas in that area, to me, is kind of suspicious.
That seems a bit excessive, don't you think?
It's excessive, and it was done in this area, which is very, very, it's a fascinating area to begin with, and it's a convenient area for the U.S. government to conduct things like this in this remote area neighboring the Jicarilla Apache Reservation. And in my opinion, the United States government, through the Black Project programs, have in the past utilized Native American lands to conduct, all kind of experiments, the warfare experiments. And one good example was in the 80s in California, Southern California. The United States government, through organizations such as Wackenhut Corporation, conducted several military experiments using the Native American land of the Kabazon Indian reservation near Palm Springs, conducting experiments such as fuel-air explosives and also biological warfare, testing in a Kabazon reservation. And money was exchanged between the Kabazon Indian Reservation and the U.S. government. And this was all covered up, but this was finally unraveled by some journalists. And, it's now known, you can check this out in the Internet, about the Kabazon Indian Reservation and the whole Inslaw scandal and the role of Wackenhut Corporation, and this was, revealed by former member of the Wackenhut, a scientist himself, Michael Riconosciuto. This whole thing was going to be made into a documentary, a book, a thick book called The Octopus. But the journalist who started writing that book died under mysterious circumstances in the 1980s while he was trying to expose this. But it was too late. The fact of the Inslow scandal came out in California, and it was exposed. But likewise, the same thing may be happening in Dulce, New Mexico. In fact, Michael Riconosciuto, a former Wackenhut member who is right now in jail, who has been in jail for many, many years, still is in jail. He was recently transferred from Terminal Island in California to another facility back east, from what I understand. But anyway, Michael Riconosciuto claimed in 1991 that Dulce, New Mexico was similarly being used by the U.S. government to conduct various types of experiments and research under the guise of alien presence. The so-called UFOs and alien concept was simply cover story to conceal the real programs that has been and probably is going on even today in the Hickory Apache Reservation right near Dulce. And so this is the main thrust of my research, ongoing research, ever since I moved here to New Mexico in Rio Rancho. And Rio Rancho is only about just about 3 hours. I can get to Dulce, so I've been to Dulce many, many times since 2008 and confirmed a lot of things with local people who are now beginning to loosen up and beginning to, tell the people about what's happening. In 2009, a year after I moved to New Mexico, I decided to hold a conference in the town of Dulce, which nobody has ever done before. Having an underground base conference right in the town of Dulce was never heard of, because Dulce is part of the Hickory Apache Reservation, and an outsider coming into town and talk about alleged underground base wasn't heard of, and so but luckily I came into touch with a director of cultural affairs in Dulce, and she was kind enough and to allow me to have a conference there. She spoke to the elders there, and I guess she received permission for me to actually hold the first ever Dulce underground base. And the title of that conference, public conference, was the Dulce Base, Fact or Fiction, and that was the title of the conference, and it was basically an open public forum. It wasn't a conference, it was an open public forum in Dulce about the reality, the bottom of the reality behind the alleged rumors that has been going on in Dulce, and it was attended by about 130 to 140 people. Some of them came from East Coast, some of them came from California, from Texas, and then, of course, the local residents participated in this first-time conference in 2009, and in that conference, we had former law enforcement officials who testified about the strange goings-on in their town, so I got to know some former police officers over there, and the former director of public safety in 1990, who was basically a deputy, the police chief, Hoyt Velarde, who arrested me in 1990, came to that conference that I organized, and I asked him if he remembered me, and he said he definitely told me in the conference that the reason at that time in 1990 that he detained all of us, the Nippon television crew, was because he was concerned about safety. And he himself, after retiring as a chief of police over there, deputy chief of police, continued and still continues to investigate the underground base theory, and also he continues to investigate many reports of sightings of things like the Bigfoot sightings, which is prevalent in the Dulce area. And of course, yes, the Dulce area is well known for the large reports of sightings of, Bigfoot and also entities like the alleged skinwalkers. And this whole area of Dulce is, of course, the Hickory Apache Nation, the largest city. The only 95% of the Hickory Apache people live in the town of Dulce. And this Hickory Apache Nation, just like many Native American culture, has a deep-rooted, cultural and spiritual beliefs, which are very, very close to beliefs in paranormal. So, in my opinion, the United States government, of course, also is interested in this situation. And so this has been an ideal location for the U.S. government to conduct experiments involving various types of psychological operations programs and also the government's ongoing research into the paranormal activity. It is an ideal location to conduct all these things, and so they have decided, in my opinion, to do research about, biological warfare, such as research about anthrax and other substances that have been associated with cattle mutilations for many, many years, ever since about 1975. I mentioned to you that in 1967, the U.S. government exploded an atomic device right near the Dulce. 10 years later, something began to occur in the Dulce area, and namely that was the radiation leak in that area have become apparently prevalent, especially among some animals. It's my conclusion that since around 1975, the U.S. government began to monitor the level of radiation among certain cows, and so they pinpointed several ranches in that area. And the largest ranch in the Dulce area was owned by the Gomez family. The Gomez family lost about 17 cows between 1975 to 1985, equivalent of about $100,000 in today's, value. And Mr. Gomez and his whole family, Emmanuel Gomez, the owner, and his two sons, Herbie and Edmund Gomez, they came to the conclusions that they were targeted by the government and that certain of their cow were periodically mutilated, not by aliens, but by the U.S. government. The reason for that, for them saying this, is that they have found objects like glow sticks and gas masks in the area of the mutilation in their ranch. And also they noticed that some of the particular cows in the ranch were pre-marked by phosphorescent marking on the legs of the cows and so on. And indeed, those cows were mutilated days later. And so they have evidence, and they showed me photos of how their ranch was targeted, and even their home in Dulce began to have listening devices. Mr. Gomez showed me the listening devices, in his house in Dulce. And but the bottom line is, after so many years of harassment by the government, they decided to sell their ranch. They had several ranches in and around Dulce, but they decided to sell most of them. And today, they only have a very small area, just a mile and a half west of Dulce, on Highway 64, where they have a grocery store and about a couple of acres of land. They just lost their business because of this strange cattle mutilation cases. And so this is just one example of what has been taking place in the Dulce in the past, 30, 40 years. The man responsible for investigations of all these cases was a gentleman by the name of Gabe Valdez. Gabe Valdez was appointed by the state of New Mexico to be in charge of the Dulce area to investigate all these mutilations. And so Gabe Valdez began to live in Dulce. After he was appointed by the state of New Mexico, he began to reside in Dulce, and he began to set up his office in his home in Dulce. And he began to investigate all these cattle mutilations, and he's done a great job. Gabe Valdez, came to the same conclusion as the Gomez family, that there was nothing alien about the cattle mutilations. It was the U.S. government. In fact, Gabe Valdez investigated lots of cases of strange activities on Archuleta Mesa himself, and he confided to me 2 years ago, and actually 3 years ago, when I decided to hold the Dulce conference, he also attended. But before he attended, he came to my house, and he confided to me that he came to the conclusion that the U.S. government and the Kirtland Air Force Base and the Air Force and the Office of Special Investigations in Kirtland Air Force Base staged several incidents in Dulce area in the 1980s and possibly used some kind of holographic projection devices to create images of flying saucers flying over the mesa and through some kind of technology that resembles a miniature scale blue beam type project, which were apparently developed at Sandia Laboratories in Albuquerque already in the mid-1970s. And the Sandia Laboratories and Air Force Research Laboratories are located inside Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, and it's a very important organization, in the United States, military technology research. But Gabe Valdez encountered military personnel on Archuleta Mesa, as well as Dulce's only airport, the Dulce Airport. One day in I believe it was in the mid-1980s, he encountered a military helicopter flying in to the Dulce Airport, and he rushed to the airport and he confronted the military helicopter. And he went inside the helicopter and showed them his badge, the New Mexico State Patrol badge, and he told them that they have no business landing in Dulce Airport because this is Hickory Apache jurisdiction. And he confronted several military people inside the helicopter, and then the helicopter decided to leave. So this was the type of fellow who was Gabe Valdez, a very courageous individual. And Gabe Valdez told me, even as recently as about 5 months ago, that he did find some spheres, very interesting spheres, the size of a pool cue balls, a perfect sphere with some kind of a design. It almost looked like a crystal or something. He found 2 of them near El Vado Lake area, which is about 20 miles southeast of Dulce. And, well, he kept those 2 spheres in his home. Every time I went to his house, he was reluctant to show these spheres, but fortunately, a researcher in Dulce by the name of Howard Eliason, Dr. Howard Eliason, got a hold of the picture of the spheres that other people also found. And today, it is believed that there are several individuals living in the Dulce area and also near El Vado Lake and also Chama area that are in possession of this strange sphere.
What do you think they are?
They have no idea what they are. It's Dr. Howard Eliason just spoke at our meeting in Albuquerque this month, and he showed the photos, and of course Gabe Valdez showed me the photos of these spheres, but he told me about 5 months ago that he was willing to go to the El Vado Lake area again because he kept investigating the rumors of the underground tunnels that he suspected may even be, located in the El Vado Lake area, which is about 22 miles south east of Dulce. And so even today, when I met Gabe Valdez, a few months ago, he invited me to take a trip to that area to conduct research. But strangely, on August 7th this year, he suddenly passed away at his home under some unusual circumstances. That is, he was just 67 years old, and he was in very good health, and he drove for miles and miles to conduct his ongoing research about Dulce himself. So on August 7th, he was found dead. He was found by his wife on the bed, and apparently he died in his sleep of probably heart attack or stroke. I'm not sure which one because I attended his funeral in Albuquerque, which was attended by hundreds of people, including state patrol officers, and it was a very, very a big funeral. But what was great about Gabe Valdez was his continuous effort to get down to the bottom of the whole Dulce, New Mexico mystery, and on the heels of his discovery of these spheres and strange goings-on in that area as recently as this year. That heels of his enthusiasm for investigations, he took with him the secrets of Dulce with him, and so now I have no idea where all his artifacts and informations and documents are. Of course, they are at his house now, but he's survived by his wife and 2 sons. So I imagine that one of the sons is in possession of the spheres and other documents that he had. So
very interesting.
Yes, it's been only 2 months, so I hate to bother the widow. So, but very soon I'll be visiting the home again, and we'll be asking her about possibly, sharing some of his documents that he had in his possession. He was in the TV program called UFO Hunters, talking about the Dulce, and so he was very honest. He had lots of information. He was a very likable fellow, and he was highly respected in Dulce itself. A lot of people in Dulce trusted Gabe Valdez. But of course, in the past few months, I got to know very influential families in the Dulce area who confided to a friend of mine, Anthony Sanchez, who
Mm-hmm.
compiled an amazing book called the UFO Highway, and this book was just published just about 10 days ago by Anthony Sanchez, and in this book, which he dedicates to the late Gabe Valdez, it's a 350-page book that has amazing information about the reality, according to the interview that he did with an alleged colonel in California in 2010. He exposes the reality of the Dulce base. Now, according to him, there are three separate facilities in the Dulce area. One facility is located near the northeastern portion of the Archuleta Mesa, right in the Colorado state line. The main base is allegedly located in the Archuleta Mountain, just a few miles northwest of the town of Dulce. Now, there's a difference between the Archuleta Mountain and the Archuleta Mesa. Now, the Archuleta Mesa, a humongous area, vast, spacious area, includes the Archuleta Mountain on the west side. The Archuleta Mountain is under the Jicarilla Apache Nation's jurisdiction. But part of the Archuleta Mountain, the extension, goes into Colorado state line, and that portion is under the jurisdiction of the Colorado's Utes Indian tribe. The one under the Archuleta Mountain is the main base, according to Anthony Sanchez's amazing book and interview by with the colonel in California, who actually allegedly says that he was in the base in 1979. He was sent from the Edwards Air Force Base in California as a counselor, because he was a U.S. Air Force specialist in counseling, the traumas, people, the military personnel who had encountered traumas, and he was sent in 1975 to Dulce, New Mexico, from Edwards Air Force Base, and he allegedly claimed that he was in the base because his job was to counsel those military personnel who had a traumatic experience encountering some kind of entities, and there was apparently some kind of a confrontation between the U.S. military and some unknown entities in the base. Now, this was allegedly in 1979. This idea that there was some kind of a confrontation between the U.S. forces and unknown entities is not new. It was first suggested by none other than Bob Lazar in 1989.
Okay.
In 1989, Bob Lazar stated that there was a confrontation between a portion of the U.S. military and some entities in a facility, underground facility, but at that time, in 1989, Bob Lazar never mentioned where that confrontation, altercation took place. He didn't say it was under Groom Lake, Area 51 in Nevada, nor did he say it was in Dulce, in New Mexico, but so he just suggested that through a 1989 interview in Revelation. In 1995, a gentleman by the name of Phil Schneider began to claim in his lecture circuit that he was part of a engineering team that worked in the underground system in Dulce. And he began to describe that there was a confrontation inside the Dulce facility between the U.S. Delta forces and alien entities in there. And he began to claim that. But there was no documentary evidence whatsoever to what he was claiming. But this past year, in 2010, Anthony Sanchez, a friend of mine now, began to interview a U.S. Air Force retired colonel in California who confided to him that indeed, in 1975, there was a confrontation in Dulce, New Mexico, and this is the reason why in his 3-hour interview with Anthony Sanchez, which he has, tape-recorded, interview in his possession. But in this 3-hour interview with the colonel in California, the colonel confided to Anthony Sanchez last year that he was part of a mission to go to the Dulce base and to work with the trauma unit of the military, and he spent a few months there in the facility in Dulce. And, so this is the gist of this amazing, intriguing book that just came out, The UFO Highway, written by Anthony Sanchez. And according to the information provided by the colonel, the Dulce base has 3 sections. As I mentioned to you a while ago, the first section is the northeastern portion of Archuleta Mesa, right a few miles from the County Road 375 that goes around the mesa on the eastern slopes.
Okay.
The next facility, the main one, is under the Archuleta Mountain, which is located on the western part of the entire Archuleta Mesa. And the third and the latest facility of Dulce is located right next to the ground zero of the 1967 atomic explosion. And this is called the Project Gas Buggy area. And if you go to this remote area right next to the Hickory Apache reservation, you can find a U.S. government plaque indicating that this was the location of this underground explosion experiment. But according to Anthony Sanchez's book and the interview, the third facility is basically right by the Leandro tank, which is like some kind of a water tank area, right near the ground zero. And this third facility is basically for the dumping of materials that were chemical. And but all these underground complexes are, according to the colonel in California, are all connected underground through some kind of a tunnel system that connects all these 3 locations. The one right near the ground zero area is the farthest. It's about 22 miles southwest of Dulce. But the other 2 facilities, the main facility under the Archuleta Mesa and also the eastern slope of the northeastern slope of the Archuleta Mesa, they are fairly close to each other. But they all 3 are connected underground through this tunnel system. It's a fascinating speculation, but I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidences to point out that this may not just be a wild speculation, because there are too many circumstantial evidences that point, and many of the local residents even seem to believe in this scenario. And this is the reason why Anthony Sanchez recently has been in touch with an influential family in Dulce. This family works for the Games and Fish Department of Dulce, the Hickory Apache Nation, and the father of this family is the manager of Dulce Airport. And I just spoke with this family and indeed confirmed that there had been some strange sightings at the Dulce Airport quite a number of times. In fact, this manager of Dulce Airport did report that he saw a saucer-shaped object hovering by his airport in many occasions during the nighttime. Now, this airport in Dulce is absolutely well maintained, but you don't see any airplane of any sort most of the time, day or night. But yet it's maintained for, I don't know. I asked him, and he said that anybody can actually land at his airport. But if you go to this airport, even today, you hardly see any aircraft. But he did report to me that he did see a strange flying thing hovering at the end of this runway. And this is just one example. The other example that was just given to Anthony Sanchez by this family is that this year, this person that is an influential person of the Hickory Apache Nation, he works for the Games and Fish Department, and he took a team member of the Phoenix Suns because he became friends with, I think the Phoenix Suns team, a couple of team members, and they were interested in hunting in that area. So he took them to Archuleta Mesa. Lo and behold, he encountered several military personnel, and in one particular military guy with a uniform pointing a rifle at this group and telling them that this is a restricted area. But this person, the Hickory Apache tribal member, declared that, no, this is not right. This is our area. This belongs to the Hickory Apache Nation, and you have no business being here. After some kind of arguments, he decided to leave that area. And he related this incident to Anthony Sanchez just about 10 days ago. This whole family will be present tomorrow, Sunday, October the 30th, in Taos, New Mexico, where Anthony Sanchez will be revealing this latest information about Dulce in a conference that has been going on for the past 5 days. He will be speaking and revealing what he has found. By the way, Jesse Ventura and his staff were just 10 days ago also. They were in Dulce, New Mexico, trying to film a segment for next year's conspiracy theory program. But Jesse Ventura and his staff were denied permission to go to Archuleta Mesa. And so they weren't filming in Dulce, but they began to film right next to Dulce in a town called Lumberton, right near the County Road 357. But anyway, the Hickory Apache Nation did not give Jesse Ventura and his staff permission to go atop the Archuleta Mesa. Now, it was Anthony Sanchez, a friend of mine, that went to this place on last Monday, and he was given permission by the Director of Public Relations in Dulce because he knew this influential family, and the the relations person gave Anthony Sanchez and his one or two, I think he was accompanied by two persons, and also the guy from the Games and Fish Department of Dulce. They were all given permission to go atop the Archuleta Mesa and given free permission to film anything there. And so Anthony Sanchez told me less than a week ago that he did film some interesting item on top of the mesa near the communications tower area of the Archuleta Mesa that everybody has seen in pictures. But anyway, he went to the area right next to the communications tower, and he noticed a very huge metallic, heavy, like a cylindrical structure, and it said U.S. government, a property of U.S. government, and it was a black, heavy, some kind of a cylindrical object the size of a regular car, an automobile. He had two of them, and he took pictures of this very interesting thing, and he will present these pictures tomorrow at the Taos conference, there will also be this family from Dulce present to give support to Anthony Sanchez.
That's quite fascinating.
So this is all fascinating. You know, the very fact that the Dulce Hickory Apache Nation did not give permission to Jesse Ventura, but yet gave permission to Anthony Sanchez simply because Anthony Sanchez had established a good connection with this family in Dulce, and the same goes with me. I met with this family in Albuquerque last month. They're very, very kind to us. In fact, Anthony Sanchez on Monday, this past Monday, gave the Director of Public Relations in Dulce the first copy of his book, his signed book, and apparently, I'm not sure if that's what did it or not, but, you know, the Director of Public Relations now has a copy of Anthony Sanchez's book, UFO Highway. And, you know, but this is all fascinating. Now, the other fascinating thing is this family is related to police chief of the Taos Pueblo. And so they also have a very good connection, and it was Gabe Valdez who actually had a good relation with this police chief of Taos Pueblo. And the police chief of Taos Pueblo had connections with the Dulce because he was part of the family of this Dulce family because they were related. And so this police chief of the Taos native, American area in Taos is now getting to know the Anthony Sanchez. And so I think this all points to the fact that the people in Dulce is now opening up little by little to outside the population, outside of Dulce, and are not afraid, as before, to reveal their experiences in the Dulce area. This is just an absolute amazing development, and this is why, in the beginning of this show, I told you that I'm really getting excited about the recent developments. There's no question in my mind that the entire Dulce, New Mexico area may hold a very important key to maybe possibly future events that could affect us in the United States. It's my conclusion that the programs going on right now next to Area 51 in Nevada and also programs going on in the Dulce area may have a commonality. In fact, there are some indications that, they could be connected symbolically and maybe even physically. I don't know. I don't know about the veracity of the underground systems, physical underground systems joining the Dulce facility and Los Alamos in New Mexico and Denver International Airport and Area 51 in Nevada and the Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah. You hear of these rumors, but I don't know about the concrete evidence for this, but I believe that symbolically they are related. In fact, I have told people that, yes, just last year, the governor of Nevada declared that Nevada Test Site changed its name to Nevada National Security Site. Nevada National Security Site is the official name of Nevada Test Site. The Nevada Test Site, right next to Area 51, no longer exists, and it's now called N2S2. In other words, Nevada National Security Site. So it's called N2S2, and now this entire site right next to Area 51 is open to the free use by defense contractors to conduct various experiments in military weapon systems in the name name of anti-terrorism legislation, they have opened up a Nevada test site, changed its name, and now they are going on with experiments that is very similar to the testing of major military technology of Area 51. In other words, Area 51 may be expanding west towards the Nevada National Security Site because the programs and the intention is the same. The alleged excuse under the anti-terrorism legislation that the U.S. can now conduct weapons against anti-terrorism, and now some of the programs that are going on in Area 51 are now possibly being moved towards the Nevada test site right next door. In fact, west of Area 51 is part of the national security site now. So all these things that are happening, the black projects in the United States, in areas like Area 51 in Nevada, Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah, and New Mexico. In fact, New Mexico has the most number of black projects programs right now. You have the National Laboratory in Los Alamos, which is only about 65 miles, from Dulce, New Mexico. Los Alamos is the world's leading-edge research facility for human genome project or DNA research. They are very much into the latest technology of, that relates to biological experiments as well. Biological warfare. This is all related.
And just
human genome project.
And in the last couple of months, we did reports there was with the nuclear leakages going on out of there.
Well, that is another possibility. So there has been cover-ups of all kinds. As I mentioned to you, if you look at New Mexico, if you go to the southern New Mexico area, you have the expansive White Sands Missile Range, where today the most advanced testing of directed energy weapon systems are being conducted. Microwave weapon system, laser systems, these are all being conducted at the southern portion of White Sands Missile Range, right north of Holloman Air Force Base, White Sands Missile Range. Now, it's very important that in 1945, the United States government brought in hundreds and hundreds of former German scientists and engineers from Germany immediately after the conclusion of World War II. In 1945, hundreds came over to Albuquerque's Kirtland Army Air Base. At that time, it was Army Air Base, Kirtland. Okay. Now it's a Kirtland Air Force Base. But in 1945, these hundreds of engineers arrived in Albuquerque from Ohio, from Wright-Patterson Army Field. They were transferred from Wright-Patterson Army Airfield and were moved to Kirtland Army Air Base. And then many of these scientists and engineers were transferred to White Sands area. And then some of the scientists and the engineers were transferred to Los Alamos. So these engineers and scientists brought with them the knowledge of exotic technologies that they were working on already in 1942 and 1943 in Germany. And it's a fact that from 1945, and in 1945, 1946, and 1947, many of these programs took place in White Sands missile ranges. And there's no doubt that prototypes of exotic flying wing aircraft that they had apparently brought in were tested in the White Sands missile ranges already in 1945. In fact, there's a report that in 1945, some residents of a small village called San Antonio, New Mexico, just southeast of Socorro, New Mexico, they reported a crash of a delta-shaped, a crescent-shaped object outside of San Antonio, New Mexico in 1945. Now, this is just one example of the reality that the New Mexico was a hotbed of the German scientists and engineers that were exchanging information with the U.S. military and were conducting joint tests of prototypes of exotic aircraft and exotic weapon systems. Now, the reason I'm saying all this is it's all related. Did you know that Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico at the southern end of White Sands Missile Range has always had a very, very cordial, close relationship with the German Air Force?
I didn't know that.
Yes. In fact, a large contingency of German Air Force personnel has always been at Holloman Air Force Base. In fact, there have been, it's a training area that has welcomed the German Air Force for many, many years. I'm sure that is the same scenario today. So what important factor is that New Mexico did have a large contingency of German engineers and scientists, former Nazi German scientists. And then also Wright-Patterson Army Airfield also began to have these former German scientists right there in Wright-Patterson. So there was a definite working relation between the German scientists that were present in New Mexico and the German scientists that were present in Wright-Patterson Army Airfield already in 1945. So whatever experiments that they were conducting in New Mexico, in White Sands, did have a definite relation with Wright-Patterson Army Airfield in Ohio already, in 1945, 1947. But what's more important, Josh, is the fact that not only the German scientists and engineers came to New Mexico in 1945 through Operation Paperclip, not only were there German scientists and engineers, but a small percentage of them were former Nazi SS intelligence officers. Now, the German SS intelligence officers, some of them were brought together with the German scientists and engineers in this program called Operation Paperclip, which today is still classified. The leaks have been coming since many years ago, but this whole program of Operation Paperclip still is a classified information that even though many people have succeeded in unraveling part of the documents about the Operation Paperclip. So this is why we know about Operation Paperclip through some parts of this covered up classified documents. But the vast bulk of the documents concerning Operation Paperclip is still classified even today. And it's a fact, Josh, that in 1947, when the Central Intelligence Agency was created, it was, of course, successor organization to Office of Strategic Services, OSS. But in 1947, the establishment of CIA was very much influenced by the former SS officers of Germany. The German Nazi, SS intelligence group had a very skillful techniques of intelligence gathering and intelligence dissemination. In other words, they were experts in disinformation and also manipulation of information and creation of misinformation. Now, in other words, they were experts in all these techniques that are vital to the intelligence community. And this is the reason why in 1947, the United States, through the influence of the former German intelligence officers, began to establish the CIA in 1947, the very same year that the United States established the National Security Act, which later became the NSA. So both the CIA and NSA in the United States came into existence in 1947, which was the very same year that a strange incident apparently took place outside of Roswell, New Mexico. We don't know for sure what took place outside of Roswell, New Mexico, but there's growing circumstantial evidences that it was a cover-up to conceal some kind of a military testing and did not involve any aliens. But there's a lot of information coming now that indeed the Operation Paperclip program was one of the most important programs that the United States created, thus bringing, after World War II, the German know-how of exotic technologies, rocketry, and also the prototype flying wing aircraft that the United States succeeded in getting. Like I said, because of the influx of former Nazi scientists and engineers in New Mexico, New Mexico became the central focus of the U.S. military's beginning of the so-called Black Projects program, and some of the Black Projects program became a white program. In other words, when we talk about NASA, NASA is not covertly a black operation. It's a white program for the public. But there's no doubt that NASA has deep black projects programs are heavily involved, in NASA programs. And in 1993, I corresponded with a Canadian investigative journalist by the name of Serge Monast. Okay. Now, Serge Monast came out in 1993 that the NASA had a secretive program called Project Bluebeam that he uncovered from his sources, and he investigated through his sources the validity of such a secret plan that NASA had in the future, and namely one program called the Operation Bluebeam. And Serge Monast divulged his information to a few researchers in 1993 and 1994, and thus the idea of Project Bluebeam, the various technologies that will be utilized to create a psychological operations program worldwide that could alter the world's, socio-religious concept that could completely overturn this kind of a thing through the Project Bluebeam programs, which involves one of the many projects of Project Bluebeam, which is basically not different from the Tesla technologies that we hear about. But the Operation Bluebeam projects involve the use and alteration of the ionosphere, and to be able to create like a screen in the ionosphere to be able to bounce back frequency waves and magnetic waves for various reasons. One of the reasons is to detect the locations of underground complexes worldwide through the calibration that is acquired through the bouncing of these electromagnetic waves in the ionosphere. The second item is to create local so-called screens in the sky by creating some kind of a cloud formation so that holographic images can be projected from even a satellite. For what reason, nobody knows. But what I'm saying is that we hear of this Project Bluebeam. Now, did it start in 1993? No. I doubt it, because as I mentioned in the beginning of this program, Sandia Laboratories in Albuquerque had already conducted experiments about holographic projection devices, and this is the reason why Gabe Valdez, the late New Mexico State Highway Patrol officer in charge of Dulce area, told me that he is certain that he witnessed some kind of a miniature scale Project Blue Beam in the Dulce area when he was an active officer in charge of Dulce in the late 70s and through the 80s. He encountered and he witnessed what appeared to be some kind of a projection device being beamed on a cloud from somewhere near Dulce. And it was an image of a flying saucer. And he even encountered military personnel creating some kind of a props like, small structures or small, what appeared to be like vents, like a small 10 by 10 hut, but hastily created by the military to stage some kind of a localized, alien type of a scenario over the Alta Mesa and the nearby areas. So what I'm talking about is there is a connection between the Project Blue Beam, the experiments, possibly, in Dulce in the late 70s and early 80s, witnessed by the Gabe Valdez and others. These all seem to be related somehow, and so this is why I proposed 2 years ago in a YouTube version my hypothesis that the Dulce area may have been an initial miniature-level experimentation in the Project Blue Beam for some kind of a psychological operations item. Now, does this mean that there are no unknown entities present in the Dulce area, and there's no evidence to prove against it, and there's no evidence to prove that they are there. So everything is still open. So anything is possible. I wouldn't be surprised if indeed there have been or are still unknown entities working in covert governmental laboratories beneath Dulce. I wouldn't discount any possibility because anything is possible. Because we don't know for sure, even today, what physical reality and what realities are there besides physical reality. Not everything that we see or we don't see is real. We don't even know what reality is. In fact, scientists are just finding out that there are many, many levels of reality. So this is such a fascinating topic. This is why, even though I have investigated the so-called UFO phenomenon for more than 50 years, in fact, I started in 1961.
Okay.
So I've been involved with the UFO research for, 50 years, and I have no doubt that the phenomenon is real. Just like Jack Valet and, the late John A. Keel, these two individuals are, according to my estimation, they really have the key of understanding of this phenomenon. And the fact is that the phenomenon is real and has been existing from time immemorial, but we still don't know what this mysterious UFO phenomenon is. Actually, it could, we cannot come to the hasty conclusion that the UFOs and aliens are the same. In fact, there's no conclusive evidence that we have ever been visited by physical alien entities in physical spacecraft. We don't have any conclusive evidence, but there's circumstantial evidence pointing out that there could be some kind of intelligence that we don't know about, that we cannot see physically, but are there, that has been interacting with humanity and possibly even conducting certain things jointly with this United States government in some facilities, such as, possibly at Area 51 or Dulce, New Mexico. Who knows? I mean, it's a fascinating thing.
Sure
yes, this whole Dulce situation is, I don't think, is just an imagination, and this is the reason why, as the years go, as the months go, I think that we could be witnessing the beginning of something as we go into the end of this year and into next year, namely 2012. I think that possibly some kind of a revelation could take place, maybe individually or collectively, I don't know. But it's my belief that this is not about catastrophic physical thing that could take place next year. But I think first some kind of a paradigm understanding of individuals could take place at the end of next year. That may be the key to future disclosure, not by the U.S. government, but possibly by these unseen entities, which I think is very possible. The disclosure will never come from the United States government or other governments of the world, but from these unknown entities, whether they are physical or the multidimensional, I don't know, but it'll be them that will take the initiative and disclose themselves only after we are changed internally. In other words, our understanding on our worldview and our cosmos view is open to the acceptance. I think then that will be the only time when they could reveal themselves. This is my basic belief. But as far as the parallel developments, I mentioned to you that the government or the secretive government, there's no doubt in my mind that there is a covert government that is has been attempting to duplicate the technologies that were possibly acquired from these unknown intelligences, but at the same time that there is a phenomena that is going on at the same time that we don't know nothing about. But the government has been and continues to duplicate their technology on a human level. And so this is my mission. My mission is to actually to make the people aware that there's more to everything than just what you can see. But the fact is that I'm interested in all of this is because, sadly enough, our hard-earned tax dollars may be used as we speak in these nefarious projects that are hidden from the public. So that is my main point, Josh. And so, as I told you in the beginning, I am very excited because I am going to hear Anthony Sanchez's latest revelation tomorrow in Taos, and as soon as I come back, I will post on my blog site and on Facebook some of the photos that Anthony Sanchez will show tomorrow, October 30th, so that people will know. I have already showed some interesting pictures on Facebook of pictures of the spheres that were found by some individuals living in Dulce and El Dorado Lake area and Chama area around in New Mexico.
Oh, you have those on Facebook?
Yes, I just posted some of these pictures of these spheres, and these are not clear because Dr. Howard Eliasson presented the slide presentation, and the couple that took the video footage of the slide presentation was sitting in the back, so it wasn't a clear photo, but you can see the spheres. I'll be getting a clear photo very soon. I'll be getting clear photo very soon, and on Monday, October 31st, I will be posting on Facebook and my blog site some of the images that will be revealed tomorrow, Sunday, October 30th. by Anthony Sanchez at this conference. He will reveal some of the photos and footages that he said he took at the top of Archuleta Mesa on the north side of the communications tower area of Archuleta Mesa. So I am really excited that we are. This is just the latest relevant information concerning what's happening now in Dulce, and it's not a figment of imagination. There are many law enforcement officials living in the Dulce area, former law officials in Dulce, that can testify that yes, there has been some strange things going on in the Dulce area.
You certainly have a lot of information, Noria.
Well, I just didn't tell everything that I know because there's a lot. There's a lot that to be shared, but I'm a person that believes in sharing these type of information for the public, in the public domain, because I have nothing to sell. I have no videos to sell, no books to sell. I have only information that is freely to be shared by the public because I'm part of the public and I'm interested in what my hard-earned tax dollars are being used in. So this is my whole point, Josh. So this is why I am very thankful right now, Josh, that you invited me to give my few cents, on your program.
Oh, well, I'm very glad that you did. I mean, this is awesome. And, God bless you for doing all the work that you do because I know how hard it is there, Noria. You just, it's a lot of work and a lot of time and effort, and that's awesome. Thank you very much for being on First Contact Radio.
Yes, thank you so much, Josh, and God bless you.
Bye, Noria.